This is the MQ-9 Reaper drone, and it is a terrorist's worst nightmare. Known as a hunter-killer drone, the Reaper has been the workhorse in America's war on terror for decades due to the insane technology and weapons it can carry. These payloads can produce terabytes of data per second and fire missiles that launch knives at the enemy. The Reaper is the clear, undisputed champion of the skies. But what exactly is it that makes this drone like none other before or since? Manufactured by General Atomics, everything about the MQ-9 Reaper drone is geared towards making it a certified death dealer from above. The Reaper is a fully autonomous drone that does not require any onboard crew members to operate it in flight. However, do not let the word autonomous fool you into thinking it is some kind of Terminator robot that can take out targets by itself, at least not yet. The team behind each Reaper drone includes an operator who is a qualified fighter pilot, an enlisted sensor operator who controls the various onboard cameras and arrays, and a mission commander who tells the two people where to go and what to do. There are so many people involved in operating this thing because the Reaper is not just a quadcopter you bought from Amazon. With a wingspan of 66 feet and a length of 36 feet, the Reaper is considered a very large UAV and is one of the largest attack drones in current U.S. military service. At a gross takeoff weight of 10,500 pounds, which can include up to 3,900 pounds of fuel and 3,850 pounds of equipment and ordnance, every square inch of the Reaper is dedicated to death. But with so much junk to lug around, this drone has got to be slow, right? Propelling this beast through the air with an impressive 950 shaft horsepower is a Honeywell TPE 331-10 engine. Thanks to this engine, the Reaper can reach speeds of up to 240 knots and reach an impressive service ceiling of up to 50,000 feet. Because of the huge wingspan, powerful engine, and tons of fuel, the base model Reaper can stay airborne for up to 27 hours. However, there are some that can stay up even longer. Known as the extended range version, these MQ-9s have an additional 22 feet of wingspan and several additional fuel tanks that allow the Reaper to take out and destroy enemy forces for up to 42 hours at a time. However, you don't need a multi-million-dollar, state-of-the-art drone and access to secret military bases to dominate your enemies. That's because you can experience what it's like to plan missions, carry out strikes, and win battles against other players from the comfort of your own home in the best online PvP strategy game, Conflict of Nations. This completely free online game is perfect for people who want to lead armies in World War III-style pitched battles against other real players. Take charge of your armies by incorporating the best weapons, like the MQ-9 Reaper drone, into your arsenal in battles against up to 128 other players in unscripted battles that can last for up to weeks at a time. Come join us on both PC and mobile devices by clicking the link in the description below. Viewers who do so within the next 30 days will receive an exclusive gift of 13,000 gold coins and a 1-month premium subscription absolutely for free. Don't miss out. Anyway, back to the MQ-9. While the base model Reaper and extended range variants differ quite a bit in terms of physical size, they are equally capable of being reconnaissance and attack platforms. The MQ-9 is filled with many sensors that help carry out its mission. One of the most powerful of these sensors is the wide-array scanning system called Gorgon Stare. Introduced in 2011, Gorgon Stare integrates 9 wide-angle cameras in a spherical pattern that can capture TV-quality data at 24 to 60 frames per second over an area of 6.2 square miles. This technology was a huge leap forward from previous cameras, as operators previously felt it was like looking through a soda straw on the battlefield. But the Gorgon Stare is far from the only sensor on board. In addition to this, the Reaper has an even more powerful camera system called the Autonomous Real-Time Ground Ubiquitous Surveillance Imaging System, or Argus-IS. The Argus system is one of the most powerful surveillance systems in the world. With a vast array of 368 different cameras, the system can cover an area of around 39 square miles. But how good is that picture quality, you might ask? With a capability of 5 million pixels per camera, every image made by the Argus can contain 1.8 billion individual pixels. Such clarity for every image produced means that the drone sends back several terabytes of data to analysts to pore over every minute. However, the sensors on board are not just for taking high-quality photos and videos over a big area. In addition to the vast array of data collection capabilities, the Reaper hosts a variety of sensors to help carry out its main job, killing high-value targets. To that end, the Reaper comes standard with a multispectral targeting system, or MTSB. The MTSB integrates numerous sensors into one targeting system, which includes electro-optical cameras, infrared cameras, monochrome daylight TV cameras, and a laser designator and illuminator. Of all of this gear, the laser illuminator is one of the most important pieces, since it is the key link to help guide ordnance to the target. But what weapons does the Reaper carry? Thanks to its modular design, the Reaper can carry a wide variety of bombs and missiles along with its 8 hardpoints. In a normal configuration, 4 hardpoints have external fuel tanks and the other 4 have weapons. But when explicitly on the prowl for terrorists, the Reaper can fit 8 weapons on board. The primary weapon type is the AGM-114 Hellfire missile, which is one of the most iconic weapons in the U.S. arsenal. For decades, it has been the standard air-to-surface ground attack missile. The Hellfire is the perfect weapon to take on just about any target, with a variety of different warheads. For example, the Reaper can fire armor-penetrating warheads for targets like tanks, but also can be configured with fragmentation warheads to take on troops in the open. In addition to these standard Hellfire missiles, the Reaper can carry other munitions that are tailored to the target. If the Reaper wanted to take on a hardened house, bunker, or cave entrance, it could engage it with a 500-pound bomb with a joint direct attack munition kit that turns this dumb bomb into a precision weapon. Or if the target the Reaper needed to take out was a crowded urban environment, a GBU-39 small diameter bomb could be dropped that has a kill radius of just over 3 feet. But what if the Reaper needs to take on a target that requires literally pinpoint precision? That's where the Ninja Bomb comes in, officially known as the AGM-114R9X. The Ninja Bomb, as the media has dubbed it, is not only a very real thing, but has been used numerous times to take out high-value terrorist targets. But how does it work? Unlike a conventional Hellfire missile that detonates a warhead, this specially designed missile for the Reaper does its damage by extending 6 giant blades that extend from the missile body. As the missile closes with the target, these blades will shred literally everything in its path. Concrete, steel, and everything else will get sliced and diced by this missile. And the best part about it, there is no collateral damage to innocent civilians near where these murderers are hiding. But how did we get to the point where an autonomous drone can fire a missile that shoots knives at terrorists from half the world away? Would you believe me if I told you that the Reaper drone was conceived by a man tinkering in his garage in his free time? Unlike many DIY projects that go nowhere, this pet project by the former chief of Israeli Air Force Designs, Abraham Karam, became the world's premier attack drone designer. But how? After immigrating from Israel, Karam wanted to keep developing an autonomous drone that his home country had not supported. While several countries had already been toying with the idea, they were incredibly loud and not stealthy at all. Karam likened previous models to being a lawnmower in the sky. After spending several years working on prototypes, he finally created a few successful models. However, being self-funded, he ran out of money and was forced to sell his designs to General Atomics, which in turn approached the CIA and military with the prototypes. Immediately enthralled with them, General Atomics essentially received a blank check from the CIA to rush the development of the drone, and by 1994, the MQ-1 Predator was born. However, it was not the drone we think of today. Initially, the Predator was strictly a surveillance drone. However, military leaders soon realized this was a problem. If the Predator were stalking a high-value target, the opportunity could be missed by the time the target had been positively identified and a strike launched from another asset. Because of this, some early versions of the Predator were repurposed to accommodate 2 Hellfire missiles. And though the Predator did perform well in combat by the Balkans, by the end of 2001, the Air Force knew a better drone was needed. The main reasons the Predator needed a replacement were stay time and armament. With the need for almost constant surveillance of the battlefield and a target-rich environment, the Air Force decided they needed a new drone that could perform better in both areas. After engaging with General Atomics and Mr. Karam again, the prototype of what would become the Reaper took its maiden flight in February 2001. After this initial test flight, the development continued until the terrorist attacks in September 2001 fast-tracked the testing of the Reaper. The very next month, the Air Force ordered its first 2 Reapers for evaluation. Between 2002 and 2003, the Air Force worked out numerous kinks in the system to finally get the aircraft ready for its operational deployment. From 2004 to 2007, the Reaper conducted solely reconnaissance missions in Iraq and Afghanistan until the kinks could be worked out for its weapon deployment. Once all these problems had been worked out, the Reaper went to Afghanistan for its first operational hunter-killer deployment, and in October of that year, it conducted its first successful attack by neutralizing a Taliban stronghold with Hellfire missiles. But how has the role of the Reaper evolved since its first inception to become the icon that it is today? Though the Predator and Reaper are very different aircraft, they are similar in how the Air Force operates them in the field. Whenever a Reaper is needed for a mission, technicians can take apart the aircraft and fold it up in the back of a C-130 cargo plane. After arriving in theater, a small ground crew can then assemble the Reaper, arm it with weapons stored on board the C-130, and get it airborne. Once the Reaper is safely airborne and establishes a positive data link with the satellite, the ground crew in theater can then transfer control of the aircraft to another team half the world away. At Creech Air Force Base in southern Nevada, the U.S. Air Force has a secret compound where they operate the Reaper once it gets started on its mission. From here, operators can spend up to 12 hours at a time, either physically controlling the Reaper or operating one of its many sensors, as discussed earlier. But how has the Air Force used this amazing weapon? Though data from the military is scarce due to the secret nature of the Reaper, we do know that the service absolutely loves it. From 2004 to 2009, the Reaper saw a 660% increase in the amount of combat air patrols in Iraq and Afghanistan. As the war on terror continued and demand for the Reaper went up, the Air Force has continued ordering Reaper drones. Though the exact figure is unknown due to the classified deliveries to entities like the CIA, we do know that the Air Force has taken possession of over 300 Reapers and sold many more to foreign allies. With this huge uptick in demand, the amount of flight hours for drones has skyrocketed. It took the Air Force 16 years from 1994 to 2010 to rack up 1 million flight hours with drones. But just 2.5 years later, that number had doubled to 2 million flight hours, thanks in part largely to the proliferation of the MQ-9 Reaper drone. But what was it doing to keep itself so busy? Again, due to classified missions, we will never know the exact number of targets taken out by the Reaper. But we do know from public reporting that it is at least several thousand terrorists. And the Reaper has operated all over the world: Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Somalia, Yemen, and Libya are among the publicly admitted war zones where these drones have seen action, and the Reaper can carry out many missions while in theater. Because of its advanced sensor array, one of the Reaper's primary duties is reconnaissance. Due to the nature of tracking elusive terrorists, a drone might surveil a target for weeks, months, or even years before firing that fatal shot. And while the drones have been used to assist troops in contact when needed, their primary mission has been to hunt down high-value targets among Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and the Taliban. Numerous media reports over the years have shown that whenever some democracy needs to be dispensed to an evildoer, the Reaper is frequently the target. For example, the mastermind behind the USS Cole attack, Fahd al-Qusaw, was killed by a Reaper drone. Anwar al-Awlaki was the American cleric who radicalized hundreds of would-be followers of Al-Qaeda, was also killed by a Reaper in Yemen. In Syria, the famous ISIS executioner Jihadi John was vaporized by an MQ-9 in Baghdad. General Soleimani, the infamous leader of the Quds force that trained and funded Iraqis to kill Americans, was also claimed by the Reaper. These famous bad guys and more you will probably never hear about publicly all met the same fate. Whether they were getting into a car, standing on a balcony, or enjoying what would soon be their last meal, they had all their souls taken by the real-life Grim Reaper. However, despite the great success the Reaper has had, it is not invincible. Due to mechanical failures and operator errors, the Reaper once held the dubious title of the most accident-prone aircraft in its inventory. But after a series of high-profile mishaps, the Air Force tightened up mechanical issues and operator safeguards to prevent these accidents from happening, and now its mishap rate is on par with manned platforms. In addition to high non-combat losses, the MQ-9 Reaper has actually suffered numerous combat losses across several theaters, but lately combat losses of the Reaper have soared. Thanks to Iranian support, training, and intelligence, the Houthi rebels in Yemen have shot down 4 Reaper drones since the October 7th attacks against Israel. Because the Reaper does not have any known countermeasures, the drone is an easy target for ground fire from man-portable systems provided by countries like Iran. However, despite these recent setbacks, its overwhelming success ensures it will continue to receive constant upgrades and modifications. Though the base model Reaper is great, there are a few areas of improvement where the U.S. military is actively working to get better at. First of these is the MQ-9 Block 5 drone. First released in 2018, the Block 5 variants intend to fix some of the systemic issues that have affected the program in the past. The first of these issues is the ability to take off and land autonomously. Due to the high number of accidents that have occurred during this dangerous process, the engineers at General Atomic have been tinkering with the drone taking off and landing on its own with artificial intelligence. While there have been some successful tests in the field, it is not clear if this feature has rolled out to all Reapers as of yet, or if more testing is needed to eliminate this human element. Another way the Block 5 drones are trying to improve is better awareness of in-flight emergencies. Because long hours of watch standing can get boring or tedious, flying in circles for hours on end can also be tedious. There have been documented cases of operators being slow to recognize or entirely missing in-flight emergencies. With the help of AI, the Block 5 drone should be able to self-diagnose issues faster and easier than before, so operators can take evasive actions sooner. In addition to this, the Block 5 models are also working on making the Reaper more survivable. Due to the highly televised shootdowns of Reaper drones by terrorists in Yemen, the Air Force and General Atomics have been working together on a variety of offensive and defensive measures to make the drone harder to shoot down. While exact steps are classified, these include jamming pods to scramble enemy radar signals. But making the existing drone better is not the only idea the Air Force has in store for the drone. Known as Collaborative Operations in a Denied Environment, or CODE, This is an ongoing project by the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency to successfully integrate the Reaper into a swarm. Currently, one operator must control one Reaper at a time. While some limited experiments have controlled more than one drone at a time, this has not been done in combat yet. But the Air Force dreams of not just cutting down manpower. Instead, the Air Force imagines that one day, swarms of Reaper drones armed with Sidewinder missiles could actually take on squadrons of enemy aircraft in a dogfight. Can you imagine that? An operator all the way around the world controlling a drone swarm could take out a country's Air Force. And while the scenario might be years away, one way you can experience something similar is by playing Conflict of Nations. You too can create air forces and lead epic battles in the internet's best PvP strategy game. Click the link in the description for 13,000 free coins and a 1-month free premium subscription. Bye for now.